Welcome to My Life, My Songs. I'm your host, Jimmy Fortune, and we've got a fantastic show for you today. I'm sitting down with Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter, Miss Linda Davis. Linda, thank you so much for being with us today.
I really want to hug your neck, but I don't want to mess up her clothes.
That's all right. You know, I'm sure a lot of people know your story, but a lot of people probably don't too. They're going to want to hear all the stories you have to tell. And let's go back to early on when you bought every country song roundup magazine there was.
Do you remember them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And that kind of got you going there.
Got me
got
hooked.
you hooked. Yeah.
Yes, those magazines, for those who may not remember those or know about them, they were like my Bible, my country music Bible. I had my Holy Bible, but that was my country music Bible. And there were lyrics in the song books, and there were stories about the artists and the writers that were current at that time. I think it was a monthly magazine, and I couldn't wait for it to come to the drugstore so I could buy it, and then I knew the song lyrics. Otherwise, if you had the 8-track or the 45, you had to stop it. Oh my gosh. But don't you remember having to stop it and get the lyrics, then put it back on and get the lyrics? It took forever, but those songbooks had all the words
And
in
then they taught you about all the artists and everybody that you just looked up to and everything, that you wound up being one yourself one day. That's pretty cool, huh?
Oh, I had no idea. Well, it is very cool, but I had no idea that little girl from East Texas would meet some of those names, those people in that book. It's just been such a fun journey.
Well, I remember back when the Statler Brothers, we used to come to town, stay at the Music City Sheraton, and it was this beautiful young lady playing at the piano when we would go down to eat dinner or something at night, and it was Linda Davis sitting there, and we were going, how in the world is this girl not on TV, radio, records, everything? And you were sitting in that lounge and just as happy and proud to be there. Tell us about those days when you were there doing that.
Gosh, I was paying my dues, and the kids now, their dues paying idea is like 2 months or a year maybe, because American Idol's kind of taught them that it can happen fast.
Right.
But for us, it was a lot longer, and I sat at that hotel playing and singing, oh gosh, 7 years or so. Yeah. And it was a beautiful place to sit and play and sing, and meeting people like y'all, because you were there for some of the award shows.
Right.
And I sat there dreaming of, okay, when I leave here for better things, I want to go on tour, I want to be on those award shows. I did tour with y'all.
Yes, you did.
I did get to be on y'all's Statler Brothers TV show.
We made sure of that.
So many dreams that came true, and you're a part of them.
You're married to one of the most interesting guys and one of the greatest guys in the world, Mr. Lang Scott.
Thank you.
How did y'all meet and everything? How did that come about?
Well, that was after I moved here from Texas, and Lang moved here from South Carolina hoping to pursue his career and his dreams. We had a couple of mutual friends early on in our career, and those people are gone to heaven, I hope, at this point, but they got us together by introducing us, and we started dating pretty much just a few months after I moved to town in 1982, and we've been together ever since. That's been like 37 years.
Well, he's got quite a career himself. You know, one of the first winners on
You Can Be a Star.
You Can Be a Star.
Jim Ed Brown was the host.
Yeah. Oh, I miss Jim Ed.
I know. He was a sweet, sweet man.
We'll be right back with more My Life, My Songs right here after this. Welcome back to My Life, My Songs. Tell me about touring with the great Reba McEntire and Kenny Rogers. I mean, you were with some of the absolute biggest names in show business that led you from that little Sheraton Inn and playing that piano and through the Statler Brothers days and our TV shows and to being on stage with them now. That had to be a great thing.
Well, every step of the way has been so special, and one thing led me to the next. You know, I just know God, like you said earlier, He lines things up just perfect. So Reba was, you know, doing all the good, And I was just a demo singer down Music Row.
Just a demo singer.
And I was proud to be, because I got to meet all the songwriters. I mean, which is what we're here about, talking about songs and songwriters. Being a part of that community, you know, you're in that community. But go back to the 80s, and those streets of Music Row were just covered with amazing songwriters. And I was called many, many times, 2 or 3 times a week, to come sing on their demos. And for people who might not know what that is, if you write a song and you don't want to sing it, maybe you want to pitch it to a woman, you would hire a woman to sing it, so Reba or Winona or whoever could possibly hear themselves doing that song. So that was me. I got called during the daytime to sing people's demos, and then at night I went back to that Sheraton and put my little tip jar up there, and you know, I just didn't feel like I needed to quit that yet. So I kind of did both. And then all those relationships wound up getting me a record deal. The amazing Bob Montgomery, I don't know if you ever worked with Bob Montgomery.
I never did work with him, but
amazing, talented man and a good soul. He heard me and he came out to the Sheraton. And I saw him sitting there at the table, and he had real pretty white kind of gospel hair, perfect
gospel hair.
Yeah. And he sat there by himself. And he listened and closed his eyes, and I thought, he's somebody. He is somebody. Because I only knew people on the CD covers.
You just had a feeling.
Just knew he was somebody. And after I sang Misty Blue, you remember that song? Misty Blue. After I finished, it wasn't real crowded that night. I looked over at him, and he smiled, and he said, I wrote that song.
Oh my gosh.
My knees started knocking. And all I could think to say was, I hope you recognized it, because I changed it up a little bit and did my version. Anyhow, so he thought it was good, I guess, and then he kept bringing people down. And Irv Woolsey, he was bringing people down 2 or 3 times a week. And then he helped me get a record deal at CBS Epic. And then the ball started kind of rolling in the realm of really the professional. My dreams started coming true. And, you know, one thing led to another. Now, you asked me about Reba. So doing those demos, she would hear a lot of the songs that I sang for the songwriters, because they thought, oh, Linda's got some little twang to her voice like Reba. Maybe she'd hear that. So one example, rumor has it that she did. Bruce Birch was one of the songwriters. He had me come sing that song, and they recorded it and then pitched it to her, and she cut it. And those boys were so proud. They called me for a bunch of demos after that. And she had a nice compliment, and it got back to me, word did, and that she liked my singing. So next thing I know, I was at a fair in Missouri, at the Missouri State Fair. I was under the small tent. Reba was in the big stage. I came on after the armadillo races. Or I might have opened for the armadillo race, I forget. But anyway, I did my little show, and back at the back standing was this gentleman. He came up to me after my show, and it was Narvel. At the time, Reba was married to Narvel. He said, we've been hearing your songs, your demos. Reba wants to meet you tonight if you want to come to the show. Whoa. I couldn't wait. I had my uncles there, my aunts there, and they stayed with me, and we all went backstage and met Reba for the first time. So that's when that relationship started, and just shortly after that, they began to manage me. Lang and I joined her band, and that relationship, and then comes the song Does He Love You, that she was doing the greatest hits, and she got me to sing it, and I thought, oh, this is just going to be me doing a demo vocal for somebody else that's got a big name, but she kept me on it.
Now, you're a Texas girl.
Yes.
And so you grew up in Texas, of course, and then you wound up in the Texas Music Hall of Fame.
Country Music Hall, how about that?
Yeah, and 2009. So tell me how exciting that was when you found out about it and all that.
Well, it was very exciting, because there's a sweet lady, Tommy Ritter Smith. She runs the show down there, and she's she's so passionate about the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame. But there's a lot of people in it, because, you know, there's a lot of Texans that sing country music.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm real proud of the museum. I'm proud of those who are in it. The Whites are in it. Willie and Ray Price and Chris, and, you know, it's just amazing. So to be among them. Okay, so the year I went in, Neil McCoy, he's so shy.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you hope he'll come out of his shell?
He'll maybe come out one of these days. I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully soon. And then Michael Martin Murphy.
Oh, no, he's one of my favorites. Wildfire.
Oh, my goodness, and you do his song so good.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
We put that on
I bet
there.
he likes to hear you do it, too.
Well, I don't know. Never heard from him, so I don't know. We'll be right back with more My Life, My Songs after this. Welcome back to My Life, My Songs with your host, Jimmy Fortune. You are a songwriter now. How did that come about, writing songs?
Oh, okay. So when I was about 12 years old, I mean, I'd been singing at church and everything, which is where a lot of us get started. An uncle of mine moved back to East Texas from, I think he was living in Midland, and, you know, had been gone for a while. So he moved back, and I didn't realize it, but he liked to play guitar. He taught himself a few chords and write songs. He was divorced, so and his kids were grown, so he had all this time and energy, and he noticed that I liked to sing, and so he was just all into it, and he was so proud for me. He would actually buy me some of those country song roundup books and help me.
Yeah.
He didn't really know anybody, but he knew he thought I had talent, so he had an extra guitar. He might have just bought a second one so he could let me use one. And he knew I played the piano, and so he brought some lyrics to the house. He said, "Won't you put a tune to that?" And I thought, okay, let me see what I can do. So that's where it all started. And it was very amateur, but everything rhymed, and we tried to make it have a little pep, you know, and so that's where it started. And then we went over, he took me to Shreveport, where they had a recording studio.
Oh, Lord.
And we recorded those songs.
What was that like, hearing those
Oh,
back?
my goodness. I thought I had already made it.
Oh, yeah.
Because those boys could play. Joe Spivey,
oh,
you know
my gosh.
Joe?
Yeah.
He was on the session.
Yeah, I
Dino
a lot of my stuff, too.
and he's something. He plays fiddle.
Everything.
Oh, gosh, he does play everything.
Yeah.
But he was a musician at the Louisiana Hayride when I was a kid. And so we already kind of knew them. Later on, you know, we got in the studio, and he was on the session. So it was just mind-blowing, because to hear your song that you've written kind of come to real life,
Right.
even when it's not too good, it sounds really good to you.
Well, now, you're also a co-writer. You co-wrote a song for Reba, I Need to Talk to You.
Yeah.
And, of course, that earned you a Grammy.
Hey, she did this gospel project, and a lot of people, I mean, it was an amazing double album kind of a project, and it got a Grammy. How about that?
Man, I mean, that's what you strive for.
Oh, and to have a friend record it, somebody that's so dear to me, and she'd had it for several years. I pitched it to her, and it's not a song for just everybody. It's just not for every project either. You know, it's got to be just right. You know that when you write songs, you know that this is really special, but not just everybody's going to get this or need it for their repertoire. It's got to find a home, we call it.
And tell me about the song that you wrote about Hank, the wife of Hank Williams, Audrey Williams.
Oh,
tell me about that.
Looking for Audrey. You remember? Oh my gosh! Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
okay, so Bill White, yours and my friend.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like a brother.
We write quite a bit together.
He's amazing
He really
so dedicated.
He is.
I wish I had his discipline.
Me too.
Don't you?
Me too. Absolutely.
And then Bobby Tomberlin, the three of
Another
us.
good one.
Yes, don't you love? He is like he's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Bobby.
Yeah.
So that song, they came over to the house one morning, and the name Audrey, I just always loved how that fell off. It just sounds so sweet to
Audrey.
my ears.
It's just one of my favorite names.
It is mine too.
Audrey is beautiful. And Aubrey. I like Aubrey
That's pretty
too. That's
too.
pretty. Yeah.
But then the story of Hank and Audrey, and I know there's probably a lot of versions of it, but the one I heard that I latched on to is how much he loved her, and how he just had these demons, and he couldn't always control his demons, and I don't know all that got going. It doesn't matter, but
Right.
he loved her. So we just started talking about it, and Bobby's got all kind of history that he's like a walking almanac and Reader's Digest and every book you can with knowledge. And so he started telling some Audrey Williams stories, and we just sat down, and I was at the piano and they had their guitars, and that one just kind of fell out, and we really are proud of it, I think. But it's one of those, Jimmy, that it's got to find the right home, the right voice, the right age of the man who's going to sing it, because it's to be believable.
Now, talking about, couples and things, how do you balance the family and because you've got, a husband in the business, you got,
2 daughters.
Hillary and
Riley Jean. Riley is 20 now.
Oh my gosh.
So she still lives at home, but she's pretty much has her own schedule, and that's how it should be. Hillary has given us 3 grandbabies. So I like making time, like making time for those grandbabies. And so I've never been a real good time manager. I do the best I can, but I fail miserably usually. But I don't know, somehow or another it gets worked in, but I could always use more of a dose of writing than what I ever get.
There are lots more great stories up ahead on My Life, My Songs. Thanks for coming on back to My Life, My Song. This is so special. Your Scott family album, Love Remains. Oh, what a precious project that was and is. So tell me how that all came about and the story behind it.
Okay, so Hillary Scott and the Scott family, she and her partners, Dave and Charles, were taking a little bit of a break. I guess it was in between tours, and they just felt like they needed to recharge their creative energy. And so that was about 5 years after my father-in-law, Lang's daddy, Mr. W.M. Scott, had died. He had been diagnosed with cancer, and for 5 months he fought it really hard, and finally he passed away. And he was such a strong influence and a strong personality. He and Miss Rose helped raise Hillary, because while we were on the road, she couldn't go everywhere.
Right.
So he was a big influence in her life, and also Riley's, but really in Hillary's life. Right. So music was a part of everything that we did in our happy times, in our sad times. Music, especially gospel music, was our go-to in our peace and our celebrations. So when Hillary thought about doing something on her own, she was bouncing ideas, and about the same time, Lang said, I think after 5 years, I want to do something nice for all the family and friends who were so kind and supportive during the loss of Mr. W.M., Paw. And I think we ought to go in the studio and just do a little family. Hillary's got this contract and all, got to jump through those hoops. Let's just. So we asked her, said, Hillary, would you just do something in my little studio, some gospel songs? She said, I've got this little thing I got to do. I'll get back to you in a week or 2. She comes back and she says, Daddy, let's just do this big. Let's do it big so a bunch of people can hear it.
Wow.
And so she got her label, which was the word side, the gospel side of the label, were involved. Her management, her publicity people, and everybody got on board. And we started looking for songs and writing songs. And you were so kind she sent out a letter to a lot of her friends in the songwriting world and requesting, okay, if y'all have anything in your catalog or if you write something, this is what it's about. So she had a pretty long letter, and you and Bill
White, Sidney Perry, and we sat down to she sent us all the information about her pawpaw and all these little special things about him. So we sat down and we wrote a part of it and then sent it to her, see if she liked it. And so she was kind enough to say, hey, can you come over and I'll get involved and give you some more ideas. And I remember going over and sitting down with her. And you hear people on the radio singing on records and stuff, and you think they're great singers. Well, I sat down to co-write with her, and she was sitting across from me, and just like you, when she opened her mouth and started singing, this angelic voice just comes out that will inspire you, to write even more than what you already do. And I realized what a special talent she is, what a special person she is, You got a lot to be proud of there in that young lady. And I was honored. The song was called Safe Haven.
Yeah.
And that's what Pawpaw was, kind of a safe haven for the family.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming and being on. I really do. And it meant the world to me to know that where we came from, the first time I laid eyes on you, I don't know how many years ago, I won't say how many it's been, but you still look just as beautiful today I saw you, just you do today.
And I got to say one more thing, because one of the names, Randy Hardison.
Oh, Randy.
You and Randy sat at one of those little tables, and I was playing and singing at the Sheridan. And you were there, I'm sure, with the Statlers for some event, but your friend and mine, Randy, he and the two of y'all sat there at that, and you know, he ended up being in my band.
That's right.
He played drums.
He was supposed to play for me when he was coming, but for those who may not know, Randy Hardison was killed in a tragic accident. There's a story about it.
Yeah.
You can go online and read about it. But
What a good man.
It was so sad. What a good man.
Yeah.
Great drummer, great songwriter, great singer, played guitar.
Yes.
And he was supposed to, when I was coming to Nashville after the Statler Brothers retired, to do my CD, he was going to be helping me. He was going to be helping me with getting the recording, getting it all done. He was going to do the session and have everybody lined up. So
it had been done right.
Yeah, and I was so looking forward to it. But he did play on a lot of Statler Brothers sessions.
Did he?
And so we have him on some of those old the tapes that he's counting them off and everything. And he's, you know, how funny he was.
Yes, yes.
But anyway, Randy Hardison, great person, great friend of ours. We've talked about him a lot through the years, and we miss him.
Yes,
so
we
much.
do. But he's looking down,
Oh,
and we're going to see him again.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's making everybody in heaven laugh.
Oh, you better believe it. Well,
I love you.
I love you
so
too so much. Thank you again for coming by.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Well, there you have it. Thank you all for tuning in to My Life, My Songs. God bless you all. We'll see you next time.